player will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will. This is the Angela Quick Hit Thoughts review. Getting into things, she's a brand new DPS being added tomorrow as part of the Trials of Mana collaboration. She is a new Dark unit added to the game here. As part of the Staff Devout class, she does use magic type attacks, so they are scaling off her magic stat and they are magic type in nature. She's got the unique main job of Princess of Altena with Grimoire Keeper and Rune Knight as the subjobs as a 100 cost unit. Now, some general thoughts about her overall. She is a bulky magic damage dealer that focuses on removing enemy mitigations and slowly winning the battle over time. Fun little fact too, she can also remove enemy physical AoE wide resistance, not just the magical type, so she does offer some utility for her physical damage counterparts if you go that route. We'll talk about that more soon. She's very strong against magic type damage with a 50% magic barrier and 25% magic damage reduction. In addition to that, with access to poison, slow, and silence throughout the kit as well, which does bode well in some of those 97 Faith matchups. Now, she's not bad against physical either, just not her strong point, but she will have 25% physical damage reduction throughout much of the fight, and she does have the potential for a 7,500 HP physical barrier on her sub job. I don't know if you'll always have it, but it is a very viable option to use, and she technically has extra mitigation on a passive ability that when a teammate dies, and that does include if they get re-raised or full-lifed or whatever it may be, she does get some extra mitigation buffs there. And so that is kind of a fun wrinkle that has not been introduced into the game yet. Now, she doesn't hit for huge damage numbers, but she can enable herself and others over time. And as a brawler style unit, that's not the end of the world, because she hopefully will be alive long enough to capitalize on that. She also can potentially nuke an enemy's AP amount with her limit break. It's 40 AP reduction and can even get up to, I believe, 60 AP reduction with the Grimoire buff additionally. She has an awesome niche of removing enemy damage absorption buffs as well. First time we've seen that in the game, so very interesting to theory craft with this unit. Now, thinking about where she fits overall in terms of team compatibility, obviously being a Dark unit and Staff Devout, those are some that I immediately look for synergies, and Cypher is absolutely a great one. I do have some slight copium for VV and Raph as well. It's not a lot, but a lot of people have those units already, so I do want to entertain it. Even the Sephiroth unit from last year, while definitely not at his strongest anymore, honorable mention as a Dark Katana unit. But for Staff Devouts, we are getting the Exia unit in a couple weeks as well, who does look to be very promising. Lucille is also a very strong support right now in the game. Water Veritas, who many people are able to build up for free, and even Soul, who a lot of people still have just from his heyday about a year ago at this point. But if you are looking to go outside of those groups, there are four that I really would kind of look to synergize most with. The Spear group has a lot of synergy with the Staff Devout. Greatsword has a little bit, Katana has a bunch, and glove units in general do too. I think Spear is definitely the most upside here, where not only do they have a bunch of vision cards here, and all of these 5 vision cards in the bottom left are quite strong. A couple of them relatively new, so from a holo vision card perspective, maybe not everyone has access to them. And some of the Spear units haven't really held up well over time either. But we have seen Ramada and El do pretty decently lately, so there is some copium for that too. There is some greatsword synergy. It's probably not my favorite, quite frankly, because I don't know exactly who the third unit might be. She can go with Joom and Cloud, but not my favorite team, but it's there should they decide to build it out. Katana definitely has a lot of overlap there too, with some very strong units in Sephiroth, Kadaj, and the Veritas of the Frost unit should be getting online for many people that have been participating in Arena in the next month or two, but even the Dario Magic Tank certainly is an option too. And the gloves, we are getting 2 very powerful glove units upcoming here, Sottily in a couple weeks and Crimson Wizard in a week or two, that the two of them together absolutely also synergize. And one of the cooler things about Staff Devout here is, as you're looking at over the vision cards, you might notice there's a lot of overlap between all of these classes, where that Volke vision card here, where you see my cursor over, is in 3 different groupings here. The Silver Memories vision card is here twice. The new Exia vision card coming out in a couple weeks is also here twice. The Ramada here card is here twice. The Kadaj card is here. So even if it's not just like, oh, 2 of these units and her, or whatever matchups you might think of, there's a lot of classes that can overlap here. So it makes for some very potentially interesting and complex team building capabilities. Now, in terms of, let's say, my top 3 favorite teams here, just from a, hey, I'm getting her, I'm maxing her, and these are the 3 I'm going to start off with because I think they're likely the strongest. This top one you cannot do quite yet, but in a couple weeks when Exia comes out, this is absolutely a team to look out for and potentially theory craft around. Great sustain, great damage synergy, should do relatively well versus Sephiroth. A lot of great support here in a mono staff devout team that the vision cards should really amplify what they can do together. The second one here is more of the dark pairing with Cypher. As I mentioned, she can remove the AoE physical wide res for him, which he does not have innately, so that is a very nice synergy. Resnick is really there just to enable and sustain them against the type of meta that we're seeing at the moment with the curse capabilities and the follow-up attacks and whatnot. And technically, Resnick is on that Silver Memories vision card, which we were talking about. So just there to point that out. And finally, this last team, again, Copium in many ways, but I think a lot of people have Raph at a very high level at this point, and even Vivi from how long that meta went on for, that she can amplify his damage a fair bit by removing a lot of damage mitigations. Raph obviously has some like elemental chain extension on her limit break and has some of the Spirit Imperils too. A lot of good dark chaining opportunities too, where Angela's limit break is a triple hit and Vivi's got a double hit and Raph's got a couple multi-hits. Like, there's something there from like a Magic Dark perspective that it's not amazing, but I think a lot of people have access to it that I think it'd be kind of a fun team to use nowadays. Raph has gotten a lot of great upgrades as of late also. And so for my overall expectations, going on a scale of 1 to 5 of, poor, fair, good, great, amazing, for overall Guild Wars, I'm going to go 4 for great. And a lot of that is also timing it. Typically, there is a timing element to it, but we are going to see a lot of magic scaling units. The cool thing about Guild War for me is that she can fit into a lot of teams pretty easily. She's a pretty good enabler, and I do think that her passive ability, that when a teammate dies, she kind of gets these mid-fight buffs, is actually kind of interesting for like defense teams where a lot of these fights, you're going to get hit by an enemy and they're going to think the fight's going pretty well, and all of a sudden things flip on their head, and maybe she has some capability to clutch it out and stump that enemy attacker. I overall like enough of her pairings that I can kind of see the dots and connect them to make some fun Guild War teams. For Arena, also think she's a great unit for that same reason that you could be in an arena fight or even just like a class match or whatever it may be, and if that buff kicks in when an enemy dies, she's got all that negative hate, which I haven't even talked about yet. I think there's some very cool ways in which she can just like out damage you over time. She's not very explosive, but kind of like a boa constrictor. It's just kind of like that slow grip as time goes on. Now for PvE scores, I do think she is a great unit. She's got slow capability as well as a triple hit on the limit break and a lot of other potentially good things there. For cost limited stuff, probably poor in my opinion. And I'll talk about this in the general thoughts at the very end. But for a 100 cost unit, she's not a carry unit by any means. We'll circle back on that. For a TMR, I'm going 2 as fair. It's slightly niche. It gives some cast time reduction for both offensive and curative potential. AoE to teammates. So that is kind of the cool thing, that in a like mono magic team, the ability to give all that cast time down on teammates actually has some interesting value here. But the overall score for me is a 4 for great. She does have a lot of new gen stats. She's got a lot of new age tech in terms of what she can remove and what she can give to herself. My key takeaways here are that she will be a fun character to watch as the meta shifts. I don't think she's amazing today, and she probably won't be for a couple weeks here, not until we really do get Thottley and the Crimson Wizard and Exia here in the future, and Sephiroth maybe starts to phase out a little bit, that I think she's going to start to get more of a foothold on what she can really do. I do think there's some fun, I use the word troll potential, because of her negative hate and the passive buff when a teammate dies, that when it comes to a lot of these select 2 abilities, when you have that negative hate, it means that if you can only pick 2 units and you have 3 units living, she's going to be the last one you hit. So it's going to help her just live longer, which is exactly what she wants to do to take you out over time. But I will say, I think she needs a strong carry unit, but she will help them a lot. But that's kind of why for the cost limited side of things, that if she's your 100 cost, I think it's difficult to find carry units that are 70 costs or less. Although she's a great enabler, that's I think why people don't think of her as this big like, oh, new meta unit, because she's really not necessarily a meta unit, but she does some things that are really great for the new age of the game that I do think will get better as time goes on. We're not going to see it in global for a couple weeks, but I think it's coming, so stay with her there. But that's my overall thoughts. Love to see the comment section below. This is actually kind of a difficult character to think about because Gumi did some like outside the box character creation with her in terms of passives and abilities and the style that we haven't seen a magic unit like this in quite some time. And so that's all I got for now for thoughts. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later.